The secret flight swap to get President Trump safely out of Turkey was an even more elaborate production than first reported. By now, you've likely heard about President Trump boarding the soon-to-retire presidential jet in front of the cameras, only to then sneak out the other side of the plane and into a waiting catering truck. As reporters on board were told to lower their window shades, a detailed reporters noted as odd at the time, they never noticed the catering cart secretly whisked the president away with some of his top aides all hiding inside. They then boarded a smaller plane parked nearby. The iconic 747 took off without any indication that the president wasn't in fact on board. It even kept the call sign Air Force One, which as a rule is the call sign of any plane a president happens to be on board. The jet Trump took went by the call sign Reach 18. Reportedly chosen specifically for the blasé name it was. The only clue that something was up was that the smaller jet went dark on tracking apps. The transponders were turned off. After flying to Britain, the waiting media covered what they thought was President Trump landing. In reality, he had already landed. Once again, the Secret Service had to sneak around, this time in reverse. They got Trump back on the plane so he could pull off a staged arrival, coming down the stairs of Air Force One like it was just another flight. And we may never have known about any of this had it not been for a leak to the Washington Post. That triggered new reporting on the threat that could lead to such an extraordinary response by the Secret Service to get the president secretly out of Turkey. It turns out U.S. intelligence learned of a credible threat from Iran, reportedly involving possible plans to bring Air Force One down with a shoulder-fired missile. Secret Service clearly took the threat seriously, and as with anything from a country that's been threatening to kill Trump since long before the current war. In fact, back in Trump's first term, Iran vowed revenge for that strike that killed Qasem Soleimani, Iran's top military commander. When Trump got back on his normal jet for the last leg of his trip home to the United States, he reunited with the press to take questions, and one reporter specifically asked about that threat from Iran.
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force One?
Well, I have a threat all the time. I'm number one on their list before you. But if I go, you go, right?
But was there a specific
so perhaps someday you want to change professions.
That answer reads a little differently today. Joining us now is former Secret Service agent Michael Matranga, also Tracy Walder, former CIA officer and FBI special agent. It's great to have both of you here. Michael, this isn't the first time a president has pulled a switch like this for security reasons. In India in the year 2000, President Bill Clinton was also sneaked onto a smaller plane. The big difference here, the traveling press in 2000 knew all about it, was in on it, and reported on it after the safe landing. How unusual is it that everyone, including the press and some of Trump's own aides, were kept in the dark until now?
It's, well, first of all, glad to have you back.
Thank you.
It's not unusual at all. This is a play out of the Secret Service's training manual. I can recall being in SATC school, and these particular types of scenarios are used as a training tool for us. This is not unusual. This highlights the complexity of the advanced planning and training and operations of the United States Secret Service in connection with, the Department of Defense and then our other agencies like the CIA and our allied intel agencies of identifying credible threats and then pivoting from the status quo and making these adjustments to ensure that the president of the United States is safe. So I commend the president and the United States Secret Service for pulling off what I think is, a tremendous feat.
Tracy, what do you make of this intelligence that there was this credible threat? I mean, we had lots and lots of threats over lots and lots of years from Iran against President Trump, as well as other members of his administration in the first term. This sounds like this was a much more specific threat if these kinds of measures were taken.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth, and welcome back as well. Listen, I think that the threat had to have been very, very specific in this case. It's my understanding that this information came from Israel and then was passed to the CIA and then to the Secret Service. One thing I do want to point out, which has been better in the wake of September 11th, is clearly communication is better between law enforcement entities as well as the national security apparatus, because that was an issue that we had leading up to September 11th, and obviously that puts holes in our defense. To me, in the way that they removed him from that plane, they had to have known for certain, in my opinion, that a threat had to have been imminent.
They removed him from the plane, but some of his own staff and all of the White House press corps was still on the plane and took off, even with that explicit threat. Tracy.
Yes, and I think you make a very valid point. Obviously, in the case of Clinton, like you mentioned earlier, he said that, he did feel bad, obviously, for the pilot that had to fly that decoy plane. It is a risk that journalists and staff are taking when they do board a plane with the president, because the president is a target. In this case, in my opinion, I think it would have been, and Michael could probably answer this better, very difficult to take the loads of journalists and all of the staff off of the plane, and may alert Iran to the fact that we know and cause them to act sooner. Now, do I think it's right to obviously have them be sitting ducks, if you will?
Bait.
I do not, but I do not, but I do think that it probably would have not been safe to get them all off.
Michael, it is a dilemma, as Tracy points out, evacuating Air Force One of all the White House press corps and every single one of the White House staff members would have looked suspicious and possibly blown it. But at the same time, we had a very specific threat. So specific, we went to great efforts hiding, the President of the United States in a catering truck to move him secretly to another plane because of the specificity of this threat. And yet we let all these people get on board that plane and have it take off, and none of them knew that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, is it right? Is it ethically right? Some may argue that it's not, but what I would remind people is that these particular types of things are taken into consideration at every turn and every decision that the Secret Service makes. I am certain that this was a very credible threat. In order for the Secret Service to take these actions, and in this, what we do is we manage and we assess risk. And quite frankly, without sounding, insensitive, we have to look at, who's more important in the continuity of operations and continuation of the United States government, the President of the United States or reporters. And I don't mean that very, you know what I mean? I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's just the facts.
Yeah.
And each person on that plane knows when they take this job, there's a certain risk that they take. And it's just like a Secret Service agent. We take a risk, just like a CIA agent. We take a risk, and that's part of the job. That's why you raise your hand and you make that oath. So.
Tracy Walder, Michael Matranga, thank you both so much. Really appreciate you joining us with your expertise tonight.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.